We could start with Chet, and I think the argument for Chet very clearly is obviously what he does defensively as a rim protector, the versatility he provides. Chet's objectively one of the three best defensive players, I think, on the planet right now. I think he's well more than solidified that. I think one of the biggest reasons why Chet deserves a nod this year and should be at least in consideration, he made a leap offensively. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit in the offseason. It was very clear when Chet got back last year from the hip that he lost a lot of the fluidity that he typically had, and it mostly affected him as an offensive player. Like, he just couldn't move nearly as efficiently or nearly as fluidly as you would like him to. Again, you want to talk about efficiency in the half court, bro. Shooting 37% on catch shoot threes this year, which is super, super important. Shooting 49% on pull-up twos, and on a per-game basis, he's taking over one a game. So the fact that that's a legitimate option for Chet more consistently this season, where, okay, cool, you want to run me off the line because I've hit 2 straight threes, I can now attack a mismatch, or I can attack downhill and, legitimately go to a midi at a semi-consistent rate. The Thunder have a plus 16 net rating with him on the floor. Now, granted, they're the Thunder, so the net rating is still great. It's a plus 8 with him off the floor. But from a defensive on-off standpoint, the best defense of the league to the best defense of all time by a landslide with Chet Holmgren on the floor.
I think Chet is one of those guys who will get punished for playing on an elite team instead of us acknowledging all of the different ways in which he makes them a historic team and how his impact on the court is just felt in so many different ways. That starts on defense, of course. Over the last 2 seasons, players have shot 16% below their expected field goal percentage at the rim with Chet contesting, which is just mind-boggling. They have a 105 defensive rating, like you kind of talked about, with him on the court, which is 11 points better than league average. That's just all-time great as well. His ability to play so many different roles defensively, right? Like, some games they want him on the baseline, pre-switching, roaming. Some games they actually want him to switch a lot and defend in space and guard the ball and use his length to deter driving lanes. A lot of games they want him dropping. Sometimes you'll see him hedging. His ability to just play so many different roles for a team that is an all-time great defensive unit, and then for him to just raise the ceiling so much, is very valuable. But really, the selling point for me is, like you said, the offensive leap. And it's not just about his individual production. It's about the amount of different ways his skill set can be leveraged into favorable offensive setups when you're running through Shea, right? Like, think about floor alignment. He can play in the slot. He can play from the corner. He can play from the block. He can be a vertical spacer. And it's because he's both a lob threat and a 3-point shooter who can put the ball on the floor. So if your plan is to leave him and then run him off the line, he can then, like you said, get to the mid-range, get downhill. He draws a lot of fouls on drives, which is pretty valuable. He's shooting 76% at the rim on 6 attempts a game. That's just really good interior scoring production. So he's someone who pressures all 3 levels as a scorer without the ball. And then he can be a little bit of a connector for the offense, especially in screening actions, right? Like, you get him in the short roll, or you get him in those pick and pop situations, and he draws an extra closeout and the defense gets in rotation. He can make the right decisions. And it's just the cumulative value of someone who's clearly impacting the offense in a variety of ways with or without the ball. And then also being what would be a defensive player of the year candidate if that wasn't a runaway. I actually think he'd probably be second or third on my ballot with Rudy Gobert. So yeah, it's just like, no, he's not an offensive number 1. He might not even be an offensive number 2, but he's a defensive anchor on the best defensive team of the modern era. And then he's like maybe their second or third most valuable offensive player because of J-Dub's injury. So the cumulative value of that is like, it's felt to the degree of an all-NBA first caliber player. And you see that in all the impact metrics, right? Like, if you're looking at estimated plus minus, you're looking at LeBron, you're looking at even box plus minus type of stuff. All of these metrics are going to have Chet in the top 10 in the league. And I don't think that's an accident. I don't think that's a coincidence. I do think his impact is being felt to that level. The question is whether or not it sustains in the playoffs. And that's not in the spirit of this All-NBA discussion. So him being a defensive anchor, a top 3 defensive player of the year candidate for an all-time great unit, while averaging 21 points per 75 on plus 6% relative true shooting, with all the different ways he can add value without the ball on offense and all the different floor alignments he unlocks. Yeah, I do think he has a strong case for the All-NBA first team.